Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. I am so excited to bring to you what is contained in this episode. There are 4 conversations, unscripted. There was no advance notice about any of the topics that were going to be discussed. I simply had been walking with my wife, and I told her, I said, okay, I miss what I used to experience during the days of Clubhouse. During the pandemic, we were all sheltered in place. We were forced to stay in our homes, and everyone was eager to just have any form of communication with anyone outside of their own homes. And an app came along, and that app was called Clubhouse. And it gave us this experience that was a virtual conference. Like when you would go to, let's say when I go to Social Media Marketing World in San Diego, California, there are multiple different stages with different speakers up on the stage. And in the room, in each of the rooms, there's a seating section for the audience. And some of those stages had a group of speakers up on them. Some of them had a solo speaker. Some of them had a group, a panel. And there were some sessions where all of a sudden people were invited to come up from the audience onto the stage and participate in whatever is going on in that particular session. And the San Diego Convention Center is what was used for Social Media Marketing World, and it is a giant place, and so there's lots of different topics, and you could just browse up and down the hallway, and you could actually see a sign that says, okay, here's the list of sessions and the times that this room is going to feature. So you look to see what time it is, and you're like, okay, this session right here, right now is on this topic, the speaker is this, and do I want to walk in? And Clubhouse gave us an audio way of doing that in live, real time. Some of you remember Clubhouse. And for those that were not participating, hopefully I've given you an idea of what that platform was. Well, back in the day, I used to host these rooms called How May I Serve You? Ask Me Anything. And I would just open these rooms up, and I just wanted to be of service. I wanted to coach because that's what I do. I used to get most of my interaction and networking with people and having real, genuine, live, face-to-face conversations. I would do those in the hallways at conferences. And I didn't have that available to me, but Clubhouse gave this to me. And so what happened is I would start opening these rooms, and it took a while before it caught on. There were many times I would sit there awkwardly with nobody to talk to, but somebody would come in, and eventually somebody would agree to come up on stage, and we'd have a conversation. Some of them are very surface level. Some of them are very technical and tap into some of my areas of excellence or expertise, but occasionally one would tap into what I consider to be my zone of genius, going to the depths, the deepest level of conversation. And let's have a conversation that you'll never forget for the rest of your life. And so many of those conversations took place on Clubhouse. And what I loved about it is these kind of conversations happen all the time in my one-on-one coaching relationships with clients. But those are confidential calls. But in Clubhouse, everybody else who was in the room that popped into the audience could witness these conversations. And even though the person that jumped up on stage and is opening up and being vulnerable in this way is aware that this is being recorded, that other people are watching this live, and that it could actually even be included in a podcast episode, they're still willing to open up and have the conversation. And it was just joy all of the time. For as long as Clubhouse was around and before the world began opening up again. And I've not yet had that experience. I've attempted a few different times with other platforms and other ways, but I've not had that experience since until this week. On Tuesday, I was walking with Stephanie. I was telling her about this, and I said, here's what I've tried to do to recreate it before. I have this vision in my mind today. Ecamm Live, this software that I have access to, has in the past year or so had a really awesome Zoom integration. I've not personally used the Zoom integration, but I've seen people do videos on it, and it seems very easy. So I can actually create a recurring Zoom room, give people a link to that. People can pop into a Zoom call. I could be streaming live to LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook all at the same time, and just drag and drop a Zoom participant, their video up on the thing, and audio from our conversation, all of the Zoom participants included, will go out to the live stream. This is exactly what I want to create. And so I've said, I'm going to try that. I did a test run on Tuesday afternoon around 1 o'clock, and it worked brilliantly. Later on Tuesday, I did a session from 3:30 p.m. to 5 p.m., and it worked brilliantly. And then yesterday, which was Wednesday, June 25th, I scheduled a second full-blown experience like this titled, How May I Serve You Today? Ask Me Anything. Now on Tuesday and Wednesday, I emailed my audience on my email list and said, hey, I'm going to be live today. Here's a link to join me. Then I scheduled it as a live stream on my social platforms, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. I didn't know if anybody would show up and ask me questions, but just like in the old days on Clubhouse, they did. And just like on Clubhouse, there were an audience of people on the Zoom call this time, not the Clubhouse app, but on the Zoom call, there's an audience of people. And there's the ability for people to raise their hand. And if they're already on video, I just say, give me a thumbs up if you'd like to join me. And I can drag and drop the next person onto my screen. And then I'm thinking, wow, and Ecamm's recording all of this audio, and it's all stored locally on my drive, and I could turn this into a podcast episode. Well, yesterday's call ended up being 3 hours in length, and I talked to 6 different people yesterday. 4 of the conversations were exactly the type of conversations that I was looking to have. And what I mean by this is, rather than having a conversation where we chit chat and just catch up, I'm literally asking, this is an Ask Me Anything session. I'm looking to have this opportunity to be available to coach someone, to be of support, to be of encouragement. What happened yesterday afternoon was a perfect example of what I'm looking to create. And in the event that you're on my email list and you get an invitation to join me for one of these live Ask Me Anything sessions, or if you happen to be following me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, and you see that I'm live, now you know by listening to this episode what I'm looking to create. Now you're going to hear 4 different people that I spoke to. The first conversation, and timestamps, by the way, for each of these are going to be in the show notes. First, I spoke to Ramon, and we talked about how we got to know each other. He's a fellow speaker, been running around in the same circles for a while, and he genuinely just wanted to give me the opportunity to shine. And so he threw out a question off the top of his head, but it ended up being a pretty decent amount of dialogue with, I think, some valuable insights about this idea of how do I keep myself from getting distracted. So we had a meaningful conversation, and certainly I deepened my relationship with Ramon. And so you're going to hear that. Next up, the second conversation is with Kurt/Curtis. He's gone by both names with me over the years, and so I go back and forth. He went by Kurt in the Zoom call. I've known Kurt/Curtis for many years, and we go way back. And what happened with Curtis is that he helped me demonstrate what I most love doing with people who struggle to have dreams of what life could look like for them in the future. You'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. He wanted to have a vision for what his life will be like when he retires, and what he currently has as a side hustle. He knew that he wanted it to be bigger than what it is now, but when I gave him an opportunity to just dream and make up and imagine what that could look like, just make something up. Let's just play make-believe. And he was having a real struggle doing it. And you'll get to hear exactly how I helped him discover his superpower called imagination. Then DeLyn came on, and DeLyn wanted to tap into my years of experience in the field of helping people launch podcasts. She had a bit of a fear of getting started and launching because she has this feeling it should be perfect. It means so much to her. And also she had some logistics issues. And I debated, did I want to actually include that in this episode? But I felt like there was enough mindset related stuff to the logistics that I felt like, yeah, this is spot on. And then again, look at the timestamps, but when Mark, the fourth and final conversation that shows up in this episode, that conversation, that is why I'm doing what I'm doing here. Now, I'm happy to have the just catch up and chat with people for these opportunities. And if you ever see me and you just want to say, hi, Cliff, I don't have a question for you. I just wanted to say hello or whatever. I'm more than happy to have that with you. However, if you ever really genuinely have a question, and it can be genuinely any topic, if I can be of service to you, I want to be of service to you. And occasionally, some of those conversations, I love the idea that I'm going to be able to just pull them and say, okay, let's bring a compilation of a couple of these conversations and put them out as an episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. And that is what you're about ready to listen to. Ramon, how are you?
Hey, I'm amazing. Wow. I'm, scrolling on Facebook and doing my thing and scrolling. I saw live and I'm like, this is cool. And I'm like, join me now. What? So thanks for having me.
Hey, I'm super delighted to have you here. You and I have been running in the same circles for many years, and it was only I think it was March at Social Media Marketing World. What's the first time we ever properly had a conversation face to face? I think we've been introduced and we shook each other's hands a couple times, but I must admit to you, Ramon, I don't know a ton about you. So since then, I've seen that something about CEO, something. Tell me about your brand. What do you do? Let me find out what's going on in your world.
Happy to. And then I do have a question. I came here not to promote myself per se, but I did have a specific question. But since you asked, thanks for asking, Cliff. But for the past 30 years or so, I've done probably two things. And one is a professional keynote speaker, event host, MC, et cetera, paid to speak on stages. And then number two, working with brands such as Dell, Microsoft, AT&T, Verizon, leaning towards the tech side of the world, MailChimp into it, so not like healthcare, not financial firms per se, but leaning towards the tech side and doing influencer marketing. So, because over the years I've built, I bought the domain smallbiztechnology.com, built that and sold that. Smarthustle.com, built that and sold that. So just it's giving you a sense, I'll go on for a few seconds, but just in the small business leaning tech space has been my pedigree for the last several decades. And so then brands, as you know, the world we're in today. And of course, creator economy is whole different. Not different, but it's changed. So that's what I do. And then what you've seen is The Celebrity CEO is the book I wrote a few years ago. Yes, Celebrity CEO, focus on the power of personal branding. So that is a brand I have. And then there's Ramon Ray, who today runs zoneofgenius.com, a publication for small business growth. But the summary of it is Ramon is a keynote speaker and host, event host. And then number two, Ramon builds niche small blogs and publications and works with brands to monetize that. That's what I do.
Thank you. I feel much more in tune with who you are and what you're, at least not who you are, but what you do in the world. Let's say that.
Absolutely.
And when you mentioned Zone of Genius, how much of that is related to the Zone of Genius language from The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks?
Great question. I have actually his book, two of the books, Laura. Where is it at? Yeah, The Zone of Genius, The Genius Zone is Gay Hendricks. And then I think Laura Garnett also has some IP on that. Find Your Zone of Genius. Yes. Okay. So frankly, none of it. I didn't really know of them until after I bought the domain and people asked that very question. They mention usually Gay Hendricks more so than Laura, but afterwards I'm like, oh, there are other people who use the word Zone of Genius. So this is more so a site. And again, thinking of smallbiztechnology.com, which still exists, and I sold that, but a destination for small business. And then smarthustle.com sold, but destination for small business. Zone of Genius was after I sold Smart Hustle, I felt, like I need a place to live. Zone of Genius was available and I bought it. So it's a destination for small business and entrepreneurship, but definitely not going the deep of what Gay Hendricks has done. So after I bought it, it's like you have a dream one day, let me buy Dunk Donuts, and you think you're like, then somebody's like, Ramon, yeah, we've been eating millions of those donuts. You're like, oh, honestly, didn't know.
Yeah, I love that. I ask because the book, The Big Leap, which introduced me to his concept of the zone of genius, when I read that, I'm like, okay, within the next 12 months, I'm going to operate a minimum of 70% of everything I do in my work will only be in my zone of genius. I announced that to the world, and then I said, okay, you've got 90 days. I'm going to continue to do my zone of excellence works for 90 days. And then another week went by, and I'm like, oh, nope. Okay, at the end of this month, I'm shutting everything down. If you wanted to take my podcasting A to Z course, now's your chance, because I'm done with anything outside of my zone of excellence. Anyway, super delighted to have you here. You have a question. I can't wait to hear what's on your mind.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you. The question is, and it's, you can feel free to, go deeper or prod me, poke me to do differently. But the main question I just thought, again, thanks for having the opportunity here. Good to see you, the other gentleman here, is how do you avoid, not avoid really is the wrong word, but my question's, the one word is distraction. Distraction is the key word. So I'm a very distracted person. As I'm sitting here right now, it's like, ooh, I need to finish this proposal for XYZ. But, let me talk to Cliff, and I need to get some Mexican food to walk down the block in the heat. I like walking. Let me get that. Then you know what? There's this Netflix show that I've been meaning to do. So it's a flurry, and I'm comfortable being me. I've been doing this for a minute, mature business owner, but still sometimes I'm scratching my head like, Ramon, you can't for 40 minutes, 30 minutes to 90 minutes just do that, whatever it is, do that thing. So that question is centered around focus, if that's helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so let's dig into this. You use two different words, focus and distraction, and I'm wondering if those are opposites. So let me ask you, Ramon, when you think of the word distraction, I know you gave me some context. How would you, just in your own words, no Webster's dictionary or anything, how does Ramon define distraction?
Not being focused on a single task for a meaningful amount of time in its broad intentionally, whatever meaningful means to whoever, but focus on some task for some meaningful time. Doesn't have to be completed, but you could say, hey, I'm going to knit for 30 minutes. I'm going to knit for 2 days. But to me, that's what I think of distraction.
See, this is why I'm glad I asked, because in my mind, distraction had at least one major other picture in my head, and it's not what you just said. And so I'm thrilled to hear.
What was it? Do you mind sharing?
Sure. So for me, distraction is I'm actually fully prepared to be focused. I'm going to play on yours. I didn't have this nuance, but I'm going to add nuance.
I love it.
The nuance would be I have set aside the next 90 minutes. I'm going to laser focus right here. I am all in. I'm ready to go. And then about 20 minutes into it, something pops up. And then all of a sudden, I feel a pull towards that. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, do I stay here and do this? Or my mind and my energy is actually over here. I'm here. My mind or my energy is over here. And so now, even though I am physically here and I'm doing the work, I'm not fully present. I'm distracted. So, for example, like right now, I'm not distracted. Right now, in my mind, there's only two people that exist in this world, me and Ramon. A few moments ago, I saw something out of the corner of my eye. I've got Zoom popped up on the other window over here, and Curtis popped in. And for just a moment, I'm like, okay, that's fine. It was a second distraction. By the way, Curtis, you are not a distraction. Please understand. But
hi, Curtis. I see him, by the way, on my screen. So I didn't have the context, but just your show, so I knew you would take care of whatever.
Yeah, it's all good. And then all of a sudden, I saw you. I could sense you and I have we want to make people feel welcome and all this other stuff. And so I'm like, it's like Cliff hasn't acknowledged Curtis' appearance onto the screen yet.
Exactly.
And so I could see, and so all of a sudden for just a moment, now I'm distracted. I'm not here only with Curtis. I'm now, It's like, how much do I address the Curtis situation that he's here and I haven't acknowledged and welcomed him yet? Or do I continue here? Nobody, this is all brand new. Nobody really knows that Cliff is taking one person and it's like, what do I do? What do I do? And so I'm literally having a conversation with you. I'm physically here. I'm even speaking to you, but there is a side dialogue of what do I do? Do I explain the whole situation that nobody else on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube actually sees Curtis? And so for us to mention Curtis doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, get focused. And so for me, that would be the distraction.
I love it.
Now, your question is, how does one keep from being distracted? So going on your definition, if I'm going to play with your definition, my question is, what is it that you're set aside to do that you have a difficult or challenging time being fully committed to? Is there anything, the first thing I would ask myself is there a reason why I'm not a full body yes to this thing that I'm here right in this moment to do? And I'll take the heat off of you, Ramon, for just a moment. And let me just say, your definition of distraction, I've been there before. It's like, I let me just give you, I had this document that came in from the IRS. All right. And it's
that's not important. No. Ignore that for sure. Yeah.
So I got this document sitting here from the IRS and it says this, and you've got to do this, and you've got to do this, and you got to do this. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take care of this today. I'll even put it a block of time, 30 minutes. I know it's only going to take 6 or 7 minutes to address it. I'm going to block out 30 minutes. But all of a sudden, I get there, that 30 minutes is there, and I am looking for distraction. Is there any Curtises that could appear? Is there anything I could do? It's like, oh my gosh. Oh, you know what? I haven't dusted my little thing over here yet. Maybe I should dust this right now.
Yes.
Until something else comes up that is absolutely interesting at some level that I'm willing to put my time, my full presence and attention to it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, at the end of the day, I did a lot, but I didn't do this thing. And so I move it to the next day or 2 days out. And I will continue to do that until there's some dire consequence or whatever. And
until you hear the sheriff outside your door knocking.
Exactly. So is there anything for you there in me having that little bit of playful dialogue? Are there some of these things that you find yourself distracted from being fully present with because at some level you don't want to do them? Or is there something else? Or is that not it at all?
Well, so for example, as you're helping me help myself, I don't feel distracted here. I don't have a problem like as you're talking to me, like this. So just as different people listening, right?
Because here we are the distraction.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Okay, yeah. So there's that. I'm not distracted watching a movie, especially if it's a good movie. Rarely do I pick up my phone. I don't. I can watch a movie all the way through, or sleep if it's a movie with a certain other person in my house and I don't like what they've picked. Side note. But I think where it comes in, you know what, Cliff? It probably is the things don't like in a business fun way, the 1,000 things we have to do that, you're right. Because if I'm doing a live show or podcast or speaking or client, things I love, like, which are only 1 or 2 things, like I can be, laser focused in it. But like, a proposal, which I have to do, right? We need to do to make money and all the stuff that we do and how we serve and all that. But man, it's like, okay, I wrote the title of the proposal in Google Docs or Office, put the header there. No, let me do something else.
Yeah.
And I just, so I think what I'm hearing maybe is I'm just hearing probably it's okay to be distracted as long as it doesn't hurt my business, meaning I'm talking about my life for Ramon, as long as it hurt my business and I still move the needle forward. But what I'm hearing is the fact that I'm aware of it. Like some things I do, I have this little clock, I have tools, like I'll set an alarm to keep me doing stuff for a while. So did I answer the question? I'm not sure if I got distracted as I was answering.
What you're doing is you're sharing your stream of consciousness as you're processing and filtering the integration of whatever insights came to you through my monologue.
And Cliff, can I ask you to do me a favor? I don't know what your show is. This is your show. I'm just going to take the show over for 7 seconds. But can you just remind the audience what you do, who you serve, what you do? I know you're talking to your people, but just for
I don't know if I have an answer to that these days. It's always shifting. I am a chameleon. I am consistently evolving, and I'm struggling to pin down exactly how to describe what I'm doing. But what I will say is that for 12 years, I was an insurance agent in a family-run insurance agency next in line to take it over. I left that absolute perfect, guaranteed, secure income, secure job. You could, the most secure. My grandfather started the agency in 1937. I was next in line to take it over. And after 12 years, after podcasting as a hobby, I decided to pursue a career in podcasting full-time. And for a total of 10 more years, I ended up teaching more than 40,000 people how to podcast. I have over 50 podcast shows, over 4,800 of my own podcast episodes. And after a decade of teaching tens of thousands of people how to launch a podcast, I shut all of that down so that I could be a business strategy and mindset coach for the last 7.5 years. And I recently shut down everything related to that, and I only want to have conversations with people about their true identity. So today I would call myself an identity alchemist.
I am, Cliff, as you said, you and I are two boats in the sea passing each other in a good way, not in a bad, but just we didn't, but thank you for sharing that, man. Why? I'm just like, I wish I had a hat. Let me just, 1 second. Yeah, I just want to take my hat off. I don't even wear hats. First time I've worn a hat in years. I don't wear hats. I don't like wearing hats.
You're going to put a hat on so you could take it off for me.
Really? So, Cliff, thank you. This is, absolutely, man, wow. I'm so glad about this. Really, you made my day, man. You made my day.
You want to know what my dream is, Ramon?
Tell me.
My dream is that I could spend my day every day choosing when to allow my energy to be available for any passing person on the web or in physical presence, and making myself available for deep, meaningful conversation, and that be what I do for a living. And what you would call that, I don't know.
There's a friend of mine, and again, let me know. I'm not sure how much time we have, but there's a friend of mine.
I have as much time as I have oxygen in my lungs.
Okay. A friend of mine, when you said deep, meaningful conversation, I'll introduce you to her. If you do this thing regularly, what we're doing, I don't know if that's part of what we're doing, but I'm having fun. Jean Stafford, you may know her. Jean Stafford, she was in the New York City area. She's a Forbes columnist. She was the past president of the National Speakers Association, New York City. Jean, Jeanne, Stafford. Anybody listening knows her, tag her. And I think you would have a meaningful conversation with her, because when I talk to her, I feel like I've sat between Gandhi and Buddha. And it's just so deep. I don't even know what to say. She's just an amazing human and a dear friend. So Jean Stafford.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So Ramon, going back to your question about distraction, you were sharing your stream of consciousness thoughts as it relates to that. Finding out maybe there is something about, one thing I picked up from you, I heard, maybe it's not so bad to have distractions. Maybe that's not a bad thing, as long as it's not hurting me and of course probably or hurting anyone else. And I love that. So I think about just the impact of that insight alone. How do I avoid distractions? And if we think about that insight, how do I avoid these things that actually maybe sometimes shouldn't be avoided? Maybe there's something powerful that could happen. What can I learn from distractions? So, for example, maybe if I consistently find myself giving into distractions over and over, it's super easy for me to get pulled away from the same thing. Maybe there's something in there for me to learn that either this isn't something I should be committed to anymore. Maybe it's become an obligation instead of a commitment. Or maybe this is something that I hate doing so much because it's not in my, let's say, zone of excellence or zone of genius in a
zone of genius
I'm talking about in a big leap kind of way. So he talks about his zone of incompetence and zone of competence. Sometimes those things you and I are distracted from, the things we put them off because we're not great at them. We put them off because we're just barely okay. We're competent or incompetent in doing it, and us doing it probably isn't the best thing. And so sometimes this constant distraction, and we've danced around the idea of the word procrastination, but procrastination, this is all kind of related. But in many ways, it can actually be a form of enlightenment. Distraction can be a form of enlightenment to help us become more aware of where we should or should not be committing our energy to. That's the first thing. And a distraction may not always be a bad thing. It could be, it's like, you know what? I need a little bit of entertainment in my life. I need a little bit of a hot burrito walking out in the hot sun, or whatever you said, tacos.
Now I'm tracking with you, see?
Yeah. But the other thing that occurs to me, and it's something that I would love to share on this topic, is sometimes it's not the thing itself that's the issue. It's our beliefs about the thing. It's the way we think about it, the way we perceive it. So I'll give you a perfect example. Oh man, I'm going to go to the gym today. All right. This is something I used to say all the time. I'm going to go to the gym today. Today's the day I'm going to start working out. Or, I'm on a good rule. I'm going to the gym today. And I'm going to go in the morning. But in the morning, I find myself distracted. And now it's mid-morning. Well, I'm going to go mid-morning. It's like before lunch. It's like, okay, well, now it's like, no, I got distracted. Now it's lunchtime. Well, I need to let lunch settle. So this afternoon, okay, at the end of the day, well, before I go to bed, and then distraction. And so is that because I'm not great at it? Well, maybe it's something relatively new to me. Maybe this is something that I need to develop a skill and whatever about, a good habit, a good routine. Maybe I am currently incompetent, but I want it to become something that I'm excellent at. And maybe you find out and discover that it's a part of my zone of genius. So in all of that, it's not necessarily that the going to the gym is an improper commitment for us to have on our things we want to do today, but it's what we think about the gym. And so sometimes I will go, and again, I'm trying to take all of this off of the heat of whatever it is you find yourself distracted from. But if I think about that, I might ask somebody, say, well, let me ask you this. So you say you want to go to the gym. You have this commitment to go to the gym. And actually, it's not a commitment. It's become an obligation. It's this thing you think you should do, but you haven't yet done it because you keep getting distracted. When you think about going to the gym, what pictures, phrases, or thoughts go through your mind? It's so hard. People are going to judge me. It's so inconvenient. I have to drive all the way there. My machines that I like are not always available to me, and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And so oftentimes, going back to your original question, how can I put an end to getting distracted from all the other things that keep me from hitting the door and going to the gym? And sometimes it's creating new neural associations to
NLP stuff.
Yeah, it's NLP stuff. How can I actually perceive what meaning going to the gym means to me? And so when we associate more pain or suffering to the idea of going to the gym than pleasure, then it's going to be super easy for us to get distracted. However, if all of a sudden I can associate pleasure to going to the gym. So there was, before COVID, for 5.5 or 6.5 years, I can't remember which it was, November 2014 until whenever the pandemic closed 2 weeks to slow the spread. However long that was, I worked out 6 days a week, every week for that period of time, going to the gym, driving, commuting. And when it changed for me is when I used the NLP stuff I learned through Tony Robbins to say, okay, what pleasure can I immediately gain by going to the gym? Number one, wow, I'm a solopreneur. I haven't worked outside of my home since I left my career in insurance in January 2008. Now, all of a sudden, every day I have a commute. And that commute allows me to listen to personal and professional growth audio training materials. And so I'm literally listening to some of the most engaging, motivational, awesome content on the way to the gym. I go to the gym, and yeah, you know what? There are lots of other people there. Some of them have been there longer than me. Some of them look super healthy and fit. You know what I also love? There's other people who kind of are shaped like me and who have the same level of skill that I do in the gym. And the one thing I love is I love being in an environment where other people are just as committed to their physical activity as I am. Wow. These are my people. They may not know me by name, but we nod at each other every now and then. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, we're here. We're Team Jim. Right. And so I go there and it's my people and you know what, my equipment might sometimes be taken, but that's okay. It's taken by somebody else who is just as committed to being here as I am. But there's a variety of equipment. There's so many things I could do. There are people here that are paid to clean this stuff, and it is always clean. And I love this place. And man, the thought of missing the opportunity to take that 25-minute drive to the gym, having my hour-long gym experience, and then the 25-minute drive home, man, take that away from me? No way. That seems way too painful. And so if you can rearrange your thoughts and beliefs associated to the activity that you usually find yourself distracted from, you'll instantly see. The thing is you're using the word distraction. And when I think about that, it's very difficult for me to get distracted from something that I think brings me lots of pleasure. And if I think and believe there's lots of pain, to avoiding what it is that I'm committed to. And so, man, when I'm full body a yes to this thing, everything is a distraction. And it's to be avoided. That was
good.
So those are my thoughts.
That was good. Cliff, I feel refreshed. I feel like I took a shower in a good way. I'm glad I came here. I'm glad I got some time with you. And I can't wait to do it again. You're a treasure, man.
Anytime, Ramon. Thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate you being the first person. I was getting ready to go on about, I don't know how long it's going to take before somebody's going to come up here and have a question for me, but Ramon's like, dude,
absolutely. I'm going to redo my algorithm so I can see you go live more. I'm going to watch you on the live stream now. Meaning today I'll go off and watch a live stream. But
you can take me mobile while you go out in the sun for your tacos or whatever.
Indeed. What I'm going to have is probably some rice, beans, and then 3 tacos. Some local restaurant here that opened up a few months ago. So I love it. And then it's something called sorrow, like a Jamaican type of red drink. Anybody knows that from the Caribbean? I'm not Caribbean, but something like that. So that's what I'm going to have. So thank you, Cliff.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ramon. Many blessings, and I know we'll chat again. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Be blessed.
We're going to bring Curtis up next, but before I bring Curtis up, real quickly, I want to let you know this is Ask Me Anything. So if you have a question where I can engage, I want to be of service to you. This is more than anything, I want to let you know that what I'm here to do, my favorite thing to do in this world is to be of service, to be of encouragement, to help you gain clarity on whatever next step you want to take, not that you need to take. But that you want to take, help you kind of flesh out some goals and dreams and visions of the future, help you wherever. That's what I'm here to do. And if you'd like to join me, you can do that. We're bringing in people live through a Zoom call. So you can just pop right into a Zoom call, head over to, and it's right there at the top, cliffravenscraft.com/join. Curtis, how are you?
Hello. Can you hear me?
I do hear you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm trying these new AirPods 4s I got for Father's Day.
Very nice. What's new
for the first time? Wow. Do you remember me, Cliff?
Do I remember, Curtis? You traveled all the way to Northern Kentucky for a building and online business workshop, spent 2 days in my home, had dinner with us. No, I don't remember you. I don't remember anything about your Disney cruise vacation and your blog and podcast. No. Tell me again who you are, Curtis.
I just got back from Disney World, as a matter of fact, and I bought this shirt.
Just a flesh wound. Oh, yes. That's Monty Python, didn't it?
Yes, thank you. Not everyone notices it, so but in the UK pavilion, I got that. Yes, I came on just to listen in, but since there's, you brought me up, we'll talk about something. That was a good conversation. He seemed like he didn't seem to know you very well. I'm not sure how he found you on this.
So Ramon and I are both speakers at a lot of the same conferences, and we've known each other only as passing acquaintances in hallways and speaker parties. And we had the opportunity to physically say hello to one another at Social Media Marketing World in San Diego just a few months ago. We connected on Facebook, and I'm so this Zoom call right now, not the whole Zoom, just what you're seeing with me and you. This is actually being streamed via Ecamm Live out to LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. By the way, if any of you are out there on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, go to cliffravenscraft.com/join, and you too can have a conversation with me here on this live stream today. All right. So that's how I know Ramon.
Gotcha. Yes. So, yes, you remember that I did attend your in-home seminar, and it was big for me, Cliff. I don't know if just to give you, boy, how long ago was that now? Is that like,
would you like me to look?
Was that 2016?
So I go to my business spreadsheet.
9 years ago.
Building an online business. You came to the first one, I believe, didn't you?
Yeah, the very first one.
So, Kurt Stone, actually, it was June 2017.
Okay.
Yep.
There you go.
Awesome.
8 years ago. So that was, it was great session for me to go there for so many reasons. Yes, my podcast and the business of my podcast started right after that. And what I did was, you were talking about, making money through the podcast, and affiliate links was kind of the inspiration that started me down what could I do with Disney. And I didn't have a great experience kind of searching for what affiliates to incorporate with it, but I thought about travel agency, being a direct travel agent to Disney. And I started setting that up for myself. I had a couple of people who were sponsoring my podcast that were travel agents, and worked with their agency a little bit, got approved, and kept asking my wife, would you be interested in doing it? And she said no at first, but it wasn't too long before she agreed, and she brought in a friend to do it. So ever since then, I've been doing the podcast, and our clients pretty much come from the podcast, about probably 90% of them. And it's been very successful. So thank you. I just want to say thank you.
I am thrilled to hear
I want to give you for me, I think I'm similar to one of your friends there who works full time and does the side gig. What's his name?
Mark Mason?
Mark Mason. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I relate to Mark a lot in that regard. And I enjoy my daily job. I work in Microsoft Office, SharePoint, and Power Platform developing and supporting companies. So tech side of things.
Nice.
But my side gig has brought me lots of enjoyment. Community. I built a lot of community through my podcast, which I already had before the travel agency started.
Have you ever heard of Thurman Trotman before?
No.
Okay, so he's one of my one-on-one clients, and he works in SharePoints and it develops for companies in that area.
Yep, I've been doing that for about 8 years.
Nice.
So I love that. I love serving people too, and that's what I do. I train and teach people internally in the company how to use the tools and get the most out of those, and also their Power Platform, which is app development and workflow kind of app. So I do that too. But yeah, the side gig, my love of Disney World and travel and the podcasting piece, been doing that now for 11 years. But, I feel and my desire would be at some point, I'm in my 60s, I just turned 61 this year. And now I'm looking at it, okay, what, as part of a supplement to my retirement, if you want to call it that, or however you want to describe that. I'd love this gig to be, it doesn't have to be massive. It needs to be enjoyable. I think I've started, I can define probably better what it would be, but it's community, it's income generating, it's enjoyable, serving people, all those things that it does. But I might want it to be a little bigger, so expanding it is probably something I'm thinking about down the road.
What would that look like? Let's just pretend for just a moment that over the next 3 years, everything you set out to do literally just worked perfectly. You don't need to know how it all worked. Everything is like, man, it seems like everything I go to bed at night and I say, man, I wish I could figure out how to accomplish fill in the blank. And let's just say you wake up the next morning and everything you need to do to fill in the blank comes to you. Let's just say 3 years from now, that's been happening every single day. What would you be living 3 years from now?
I think I want to define that exactly, Cliff. I mean, I've been listening to you and lots of others. Yeah, that's something I want to figure out, but I don't know if I know it right yet.
I'm not asking you to know it right now. All I'm asking you to do is pretend that you and I are 5 and 6 years old, and we're sitting on a playground, and we're playing make-believe. Can you follow where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
All right. And I want you to tell me a fantasy story about your life 3 years from now when you're right around retirement. Make it up. Just understand that anything you are about ready to say, you're not committed to. You don't have to take action on any of it. It's only make-believe. But let's create a fictional story of anything your heart desires 3 years from now. Just make it up.
It's not much different than what I'm doing right now, to be honest with you. Maybe, if I'm not doing the day job, what would I fill that time in with? I don't know that what I do takes up enough of that time, but
let me pause you for just
a moment.
Let me pause you for just a moment. So I'm gonna give you an example of this. I'm just gonna make stuff up, all right? But here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to pretend you and I are 3 years into the future. So it is June 25th, 2028. All right? And I'm going to tell you what my life is like 3 years from now. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Well, Curtis, man, here's exactly what my life has been like since you and I had that one chat where we were broadcasting live back on June 25th, 2025. Do you remember that? It was 3 years ago. Oh my gosh. What has happened since then? Well, what you don't know was that the day that you and I had that live stream 3 years ago, it was only the second of those that I was doing exactly that way. Hosting live Ask Me Anything calls, how may I serve you on Zoom, but also streaming it live out to all the platforms on social media, trying to recreate for myself this amazing experience I had all the time back on my Clubhouse days. And the reason why I started that is because I was getting a little bit bored of doing the same old thing that has been working for so long. I literally have had this dream of just making a living from being present and available to chatting and talking with people. Doesn't matter who they are. Back 3 years ago, I had a dream of owning some space, some land. What happened was I was actually broadcasting live pretty consistently whenever I felt like it. I would show up and just ask the question, how may I serve you today? And you were a part of the second live stream, but that led to many more live streams in the weeks and the months and the years ahead. But here's what happened. I just showed up with no agenda. I wasn't marketing. There was no sales funnel. I wasn't looking who did I talk to today that might be a potential client. But the interesting thing is that some people came into my live streams and we would have very surface level conversations. Some of them we would have some mildly interesting and below the surface conversations, but occasionally somebody would come on to the live stream and reveal their soul. And even though they knew and were aware that other people were on Zoom and or that the content is being streamed live and might be put in a podcast episode, a handful of those people really opened up in a vulnerable way and exposed their soul and had significant, massive transformations right there live in the live streams. And what happened is that started to grow and grow and grow. And the interesting thing is I stopped looking at what I do as a business. And what I said is I'm just going to treat what I do as a devotion, and I'm going to trust God for my provision. And here's how that showed up for me. All of a sudden, incredibly wealthy, financially successful people who have a lot riding on their reputation would actually be witnessing. Some of them came across my live stream. Some of them were on my mailing list, but they were watching and witnessing what was happening. And they were not willing, because of how popular and well-known they were, to get on and have a soul-exposing conversation with me. But what happened is all of a sudden I had clients saying, Cliff, you know what? I would be willing to pay you $50,000 a year to have one-on-one conversations with you once a month, just privately, you and I. I'd like for you to do for me just to hold space and let me speak. I've seen like 5 or 6 different people have this wild experience with you in these live streams. I'd like to have the opportunity to have that privately with you. And because of that, all of my bills over the last 3 years have been paid. Occasionally in those live streams over these past 3 years, Curtis, what I did is I would tell people about my dreams of the future. And in fact, I remember in June of 2025, when I was pretending to speak to you in the future, I talked about this whole thing about me owning this 100+ acre land where I would hold retreat out in the wilderness. And it would have this, it would be in the foothills of the mountains. And there'd be this event space. And it would be this most serene place. And people would come and learn how to find their inner self, how to get in tune with their soul. They would learn meditation. They would come to be uplifted. And what used to take place exclusively from my basement, now I'm up on stage where people, instead of coming into a Zoom call, people are up here. There's about 100 people in the audience. People volunteer to come up on stage and have conversation with me, and it's still streamed out live. And so today, now what I'm doing is I actually have somebody who reached out and says, Cliff, I love what you're doing. I've heard about your vision of this massive place. I happen to have more money than I could ever give away, and I've been at a loss for how to give it all away. I'd like to donate money and help you create a nonprofit organization where you could actually purchase that land, build all those things. I want to help you fund it all. I'll help you find the right people who can organize it all, and so that you could just be you and give your presence to anyone that wants to come. And that happened about 1.5 years ago. And Curtis, for the last 3 months, that's what I've been doing.
You're awesome. I wish that was my answer when you asked me, or something like that for me. Yeah.
Well, guess what? Your opportunity's not over. So we're just 2 kids sitting in a playground, believing our stories of the future. It's 3 years from now. It's June 25th, 2028. Tell me a whopper.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. It's hard to, that's probably my problem, that
it is.
The way you put that dream together.
I want to read you a quote. This is from a book called Boy's Life by Robert McCammon. I've never read this book before. However, I was given this quote from this book from Lauren Brady. Her and her husband, Matt, are the people who did all the production for my Free the Dream conference. When she heard about my vision for Free the Dream conference, this quote came out. Here it is. See, this is my opinion. We all start out knowing magic. We are born with whirlwinds, forest fires, and comets inside of us. We are born able to sing to the birds and read the clouds and see our destiny in grains of sand. But then we get the magic educated right out of our souls. We get it churched out, spanked out, washed out, combed out. We get put on the straight and narrow and told to be responsible, to act our age, to grow up, for God's sake. And you know why we were told that? Because the people doing the telling were afraid of our wildness and youth, and because the magic we knew made them ashamed and sad of what they allowed to wither within themselves. This quote speaks to me so much, Curtis, because if there's one thing I've witnessed is the number of people who I give the opportunity to create a fictional story 3 years into the future where they could have anything and everything their hearts desire, and they've lost their ability to hear their soul sing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in that quote, I don't know if I heard the beaten down piece too, where you've had some rough times and that beats you down too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the things that you've been trying to pursue. Yeah.
Kurt, what was something that you loved to do with your... Let me ask you this. What was your favorite toy when you were a kid?
Oh, wow. The first thing that popped in my head was G.I. Joe.
Okay.
So you got the beard going now. But remember, I don't know if you remember the bearded G.I. Joes.
I did not remember the bearded G.I. Joes, but you had G.I. Joe toys, and those were your favorite toys.
They were like a Barbie doll size.
All right. What came alive inside of you when you remember having those toys? What did you like about them?
Yeah, I did a lot of what kids would do and play acting with them. I had a lot of the accessories. I remember for Christmas I got the Jeep that G.I. Joe would sit in. It was about this so big.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty good size. And I think it even had a trailer that it pulled a cannon or something like that. And I don't know, you play acted Army with it. Was a thing. I used to do that even with the little plastic Army guys. Someone was asking me that recently. We used to line them all up and throw rocks at them and destroy them. And even around the yard, we'd run around playing games like that. But yeah, I think it was your imagination that you definitely dipped into. And I don't know, it was a long time ago, Cliff. I don't know what I was thinking when I was playing G.I. Joe, but that was a toy.
Actually, if I can challenge you for just a moment, if I were to tell you it wasn't a long time ago, but it was literally just seconds ago that you were there, would you believe me?
No.
Okay. Did you see the Jeep when you told me about it?
Yeah.
That was just seconds ago.
Oh, okay. Sure.
So do me a favor, Kurt. Close your eyes for just a moment. All right? Yep. Now, see the G.I. Joe figures. See you play acting with them. See the Jeep. See the little plastic green Army figures. See the stones or rocks being thrown and knocking them over. Do you see it right now?
Yeah.
So open your eyes. How long ago was that?
Second ago.
All right. If there's anything that I would love for you to be able to be reconnected to is to understand that is always available to you. Your imagination is a creative force. It is the images that we create in our mind that actually create our reality. You didn't attend Free the Dream Conference, right?
No, I didn't.
Well, at Free the Dream Conference, I gave every attendee there, both years that I did it in 2018, 2019, and I gave them an assignment called the 50 Things I Want assignment. And in this assignment, you're to come up with 50 different things that you desire to have in your life that is not currently a part of your life. And it could be anything. The only thing is that when you're doing this exercise, you can't run it through any filters like, is this possible? Forget about that question. Yeah. You can't worry at all about what would people think if they actually saw this list and saw that I wrote this down. You can't concern yourself about that. You can't imagine how is this going to happen, or how much money, or what is this right or wrong. Just if it comes to your mind, it has to go on this document. Now, ironically, most people really struggle getting past the first 7 or 8, and some people can get up to 13, 14, 15. But man, they start to stall. But once I begin to give them some ideas and I start asking questions and stuff like that, suddenly things start unlocking. And once you start unlocking your imagination, more and more and more comes. The interesting thing is that Dr. Gail Matthews did a research a long time ago in some university in California. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been Dominican University. Anyway, Dr. Gail Matthews, she did a research paper, and she had proven that you're 42% more likely to have something manifest and show up in your life simply by writing it down. The interesting thing is that those who went to Free the Dream 2018, who wrote things that had not been consciously on their mind ever, but subconsciously was inside, percolated to the top, and they wrote it down. And I still get emails to this day when a new thing that was written on that list just showed up out of nowhere without them doing any action to pursue it.
Oh, yeah.
It was just the act of allowing yourself the permission to dream of its possibility.
Yeah.
So now that you can imagine the G.I. Joe figures, the army figures, and the rocks being thrown, can you take that same superpower that you have? And again, you're not tied to making any of this a reality. We're not going to come to you in 3 years from now and say, okay, Kurt, how have you done compared to this list of things that you said on that live stream? That's not what's going to happen. But just could you play pretend and play act? There's these G.I. Joe figures, and one of them is Kurt, and in 3 years from now, he's doing these things. What are those things?
Well, it would involve travel, of course.
Okay.
And I've looked, so, and it could be group travel. It would be.
So do me a favor, speak about this in that tense. So Kurt is traveling. It's 3 years, because this is June 2028. Kurt is traveling. Where's he traveling to?
So one of the things I've thought about is a trip to Europe.
Okay. Now let's. So I'm going to help you here. All right.
Yeah.
So one of the trips that Kurt took is he went to, where did you say?
Europe.
So he went to Europe, and the first country in Europe he visited was?
Oh, okay. So, so I put together a group of people.
Yes. Now I put together a group of people. Yes.
Yes. All right. I have a group of friends, and they're friends. They're people that I know. And we always had this dream this was a bucket list item to go to Europe, and specifically to go to England, to go to the UK.
Okay, so you guys got together.
So
you went to England. What was the first thing you did when you were in England? Like the first big thing that you were like checking off the list?
Yeah, so we had a dream to check out all the things, maybe the Beatles. We wanted to check out the Beatles and see what.
So you went to Abbey Studio?
We're going to check anything in London that's, all of the sites of London we wanted to check out first. This was the first step in a bus tour. So this is going to be this was a bus tour, and we had a tour guide that helped us see all of the sites of London, including the Beatles Abbey Studio and Buckingham Palace. But we also have a friend that's from the Isle of Wight. So we went down to the Isle of Wight. He's been a longtime member and friend of ours. And we always wanted to do this. And we went and saw the Isle of Wight Festival with the music there. And we picked him up on our tour and navigated, because we are a Disney community. We wanted to go to see Disneyland Paris. So we went underneath the channel in our bus and went into Paris. We spent some time in Paris seeing the sights there, the Louvre and the Champs-Élysées and all the nightlife of Paris. But for the very first time, we saw Disneyland Paris, and we went as a community, and it was pretty amazing. Because of our connection with what we've done over the years in our Disney community, it was really kind of special to do all that together and to see another park outside of the United States and do that. And then we just continued on. We went into Germany. We have some folks that had roots in Germany, want to see some of the sites of that. And we even have some friends that are interested in historical World War II. So we were able to go even down to into France, onto the Normandy beaches, and check out the sites there. And it was all things that people wanted to do that are part of our community that we achieved. And it was just an amazing trip.
Sweet. So And so what I'm hearing is over the past 3 years, you went from having a travel agency helping people, book their travel and stuff like that, but you actually became a part of a destination experience with those in your community. And today, in June of 2028, you're helping people achieve their bucket list items of traveling to places around the world, and you get paid to organize that and go with them to lead the experience.
That's right. Yeah.
Let me ask you this: can you see that as much as you see the Jeep and the army men with the rocks?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. I've thought of that as a next step for a while. For sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Thanks, Cliff. Thank you.
You're welcome. This is one of the things that I want to do, is to help people, and it's something I've been doing, is helping people rediscover their ability to dream, and then to free that dream. Now, the interesting thing is there's nothing else that really needs to be done beyond what you just did. Your words just created a world. Because what I can tell you right now is I followed you and your friends through England. I pictured the Abbey studio and the Abbey Road and the little thing. You and a couple of your friends took a picture there, posed like the Beatles on the Let It Be album or whatever. I see it in my mind's eye. All right, and then I see.
What I like about that, Cliff, is that I was struggling even to think of the things that we would go do, so I can go back and like fill in the blanks that I didn't have just now when I was doing that. Right.
Yeah. And
you just gave me one, like, the Abbey Road picture. I mean, those are the kinds of things that, if I put this together with these friends, what would they want to do?
Yeah.
Right.
So the other thing is you took the train all the way from London to the ferry over to the Isle of Wight, and you spent the day with your friend from the community there. And you mentioned that you went to the festival there. I want to make sure, since, by the way, we're back in 2025, so knowing that somewhere in the next 3 years this is going to be your reality, I want to make sure that they must take you to the garlic farm. They will know what it is. All right. And I think it's Queen Victoria's castle. So the summer home of Queen Victoria, I believe it is there. And so
in the Isle of Wight?
On the Isle of Wight. You'll want to do that. Yeah. Mike and Isabella Russell chauffeured our family around the Isle of Wight when we were over there. So that's awesome.
Cool.
And then I can picture you guys in your bus and driving it onto the train platform into one of the box cars that then takes you under the channel. As far as I'm concerned, this is as real as anything else. And the interesting thing is when you create a picture so vivid, what I love what you just said, Kurt, is you're not limited to dreaming about to this conversation. You could literally create and use your imagination anytime through any day. And you can fill in this picture. And the more you think about it, the more you use these mental images or words even to create these worlds, you will own them. They become yours. They're just as much and just as real to you today as you having those G.I. Joe figures and Army figures from your childhood. They're just as real. You will work harder to not lose something than you will to gain something in most cases. Mm-hmm. What I mean by this is, have you ever gone into your closet and you have a piece of clothing that no longer fits, but you refuse to get rid of?
Yeah.
All right. Knowing that it does not fit and you did not own it and you saw it in a store, would you buy it?
No.
Exactly. This is exactly my point. It's a psychological thing. You will do far more to keep things that you have than you will to attain new things. Your ownership of you getting paid to not help other people travel, but to actually lead and guide and experience the travel with your community, you will own that. And getting rid of it, not a chance.
Yeah. And I think you were saying too in your example, you're giving of yourself without any expectation of getting back. You know what's been profound about my podcast and I was down in Disney World a couple of weeks ago, and a friend of mine who was a longtime listener, and he was telling me, he does this to me all the time. He thanks me so much for the podcast because he sees it as the inspiration to go work for Disney. And he's working for Disney right now. He's a executive there. And he came after work and we met in Hollywood Studios and had a beer. And he's told me the story lots of times, but I was involved when he was he was trying to get a job down there, and he was doing all the process. He was networking, and it took about a year and a half to 2 years before he realized that dream, then moved his family down there. And I say all that to say, who would have thought doing a travel podcast? I know you understand this more than anybody, and I think I've heard it on your show so many times, that impact, like you, I think that brings a lot of satisfaction for what you do. And even you were describing, you're giving of yourself right now, and people will benefit one way or the other. You don't know. Like when I started, you didn't know the benefit I got from attending the seminar, and it's paid off so much year after year and after year. And you don't even know the impact that you have on people. Some of the people you'll never hear from.
Yeah.
And I have lots of stories similar to that. And they might not be life-changing. Sometimes they are. In his case, maybe it actually was.
Yep.
So there's a lot of satisfaction in that. So I say all that because sometimes it is hard and you feel like giving up, or you don't know what you're going to do next. Like I feel like the podcasting space, at least I'm in, is kind of, I don't have the numbers I had before, but I still have the community I always had. I don't have the numbers per se, but I still have a group of dedicated people like I always had. That hasn't changed at all.
Yeah.
So,
well, and depending on where your treasure is in the numbers or the community will determine whether or not you feel lost or not.
Yeah. Yeah. But so thanks. I'll give someone else some time.
Kurt,
thanks,
thank
Cliff.
you so much. It is such a pleasure, such an honor. And I promise you this, the next time we meet together, I will remember you then as well.
I think I was only teasing. I knew you did.
Awesome. All right. Many blessings. We'll talk soon.
Thanks.
I just want to acknowledge that Mark Weiss has come on. DeLyn is here. If either of you would like to join me and have dialogue, feel free to turn your camera on and just give me a thumbs up or hit the raise hand button. DeLyn, do me a favor and unmute yourself, and let's bring you in here. And hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I have never been better, and it gets better every single minute of the day. I must say, DeLyn, I have seen you popping up in so many of my social spaces for maybe the last couple of years.
Yeah, for sure.
But this is the first time I think you and I are actually interacting in this way anyway.
We are. So. You actually coached me back in the fall via email because I'm a teacher. And
okay. So, but it was email exchange.
It was.
Okay.
It was because my hours as a teacher are crazy, of course. And you know what? I wish I could remember how I found you, and I don't. It's been a few years, and maybe it was social media. I don't know. I used to work for Shane and Jocelyn.
Oh, okay.
Flip Lifestyle.
So
I don't know.
It was, if I'm not mistaken, because that makes perfect sense. It was probably you came to me through a live training in one of their group settings on how to achieve any goal, or one of those talks that I normally give.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. You came in right around that time frame.
Okay. You have a better memory than I do.
Awesome. Well, DeLyn, how can I be of service to you today?
Yes. So I love this topic of service. I still view you quite often through the lens of being the podcast icon.
Okay.
And I know that was a long, long time ago. So if it's okay with you, I would love to kind of pick your brain in that arena a bit, because I have
Here's the thing. My room is called Ask Me Anything. And if all of a sudden you come on here and you ask me something about podcasting and I say, no, let's not chat about that, then it's false advertising. So you can ask me anything. Pick my brain.
Great. I want to ask you your thoughts on service through podcasting. Okay. And let me explain that. The grief space has found me. I lost my parents 26 months apart just a few years ago. And I walked with my dad through his Parkinson's journey before that disease took him from me. And that rocked me because they were my everything. I was so very close to them. So fast forward to now, I have a grief community. I am a certified grief educator through David Kessler's grief program, and I'm very proud of that certification. And I have started my podcast. It's not out in the world yet, but I've interviewed a couple people, and I love the timing of being able to have this conversation with you now because I'm just starting. And I want to talk to you a little bit about my vision and just get your thoughts because I want to serve above everything else. I want to serve the people I interview, and I want to serve the listeners through grief stories. So the podcast is called Our Grief Space. And so far I've just interviewed a couple people about their grief journeys and what has grief taught you. We've kind of had those conversations. But my brain is already growing in other ideas. And I am kind of I can be impulsive in my decision making. And so I have a dear college friend right now who is in a hospital bed and probably won't come out of that hospital because cancer is attacking her body. And she has fought this for a long time. And I've been thinking about how can we honor her? How can we honor her story, honor her life? And I thought about, I could get all our college friends together on a Zoom and we could just share stories about her. And then I thought, oh, wait, that could maybe be a podcast to honor her life. So you can kind of see my thought processes. And I just would love your thoughts because in my heart, in my core, this podcast idea was birthed because my parents were extraordinary. My dad was the greatest human I will ever know, and I want his story to live on. And so I've recorded a few stories about him so far. And so that's where the idea was birthed, but I just want to honor people in their grief journey. I want to honor the listeners, and I want to hear from the podcast icon on how to do that.
Let me ask you, what podcasts do you listen to or subscribe to that share grief stories?
Yeah. Anderson Cooper has one.
Okay. From the guy from television?
Yeah, the CNN guy.
Okay, so he actually has a podcast, and the topic each episode is somebody talking about their grief.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that. How many episodes have you listened to, and how did you discover it? And what has been your experience emotionally, feeling wise, when it comes to listening to each of the episodes you've listened to?
I've probably listened to about a dozen episodes.
Okay.
And I certainly can find my story in all of the people that he's interviewed. One that stands out to me was when he was talking to sisters about packing up their childhood home. Done that. Talking about disease, talking about trauma. And I hear my stories through their stories. Okay. And that's powerful to me.
And you've listened to these dozen or so episodes. In what ways have you been served?
Knowing that this group, that we all share a grief journey of some sort.
Okay, so knowing we're not alone in the grief. Okay. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that, as you think about it, the value that you've gotten out of hearing those stories?
I love that he gives them space to share their stories, because one of the needs of a griever is to have their grief witnessed. And he lets their grief be witnessed and heard and seen. And he holds space for that.
What question do you have about the format and or creation, or it sounds to me like you have a couple episodes recorded but not yet published.
Correct.
What's holding you back, and what questions do you have?
Fear.
Okay.
One, I want it to be perfect.
Okay, so fear, and I'm going to put want it to be perfect. Anything else?
Logistics. I'm pretty techie and I can figure it out. But for example, I don't have the music yet. I don't have an intro. I don't have an outro.
Okay.
I'm procrastinating on those.
Okay, intro, outro. Okay. Anything else?
Editing intimidates me.
Okay.
Again, I could do it. I've taught technology to kids. I could do it. I don't know that I want to.
Anything else?
I'm kind of latched on to a date in August, and it's a National Day of Grief, which is August 30th. And I've told myself, that would be such a cool day to launch a whole bunch of episodes.
Okay.
Because it's a National Day of Observance of Grief.
Okay. And
but is that also DeLyn's way of putting it off?
Well,
maybe.
Regardless of the motivation behind the date, how do you feel about that being the launch date, or do you desire to not wait until then? So let's ask that question instead.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of launching it and bringing awareness to that there is a national day to observe grief and to honor.
What is the date in August?
August 30th. It's a Saturday, and I already have something planned in the community where I am going to hold space for people where they get to come and share their grief stories. So I've partnered with somebody in the community to do that. So that doesn't make me nervous.
Great. So you have until Saturday, August 30th to figure out all of your editing.
Yep.
If you want music, you've got plenty of time to get that underway. And as far as fear, if you're waiting for it to be perfect, just go ahead and scrap the idea.
Yeah.
There's no opportunity for you to be of service to anyone if it is required that said service is perfect, because that's not within your grasp. Unless you redefine perfect as being the best that you can with what you currently have to work with, and then there's never a time that you'll ever be able to give anything less than the best that you have with what you have to work with. So my question is, do you want it to be perfect, or do you want it to be the best that it can at the time with what you currently have to work with? Think about the Anderson Cooper episodes, the 12 episodes. Of course, he's this professional broadcaster. He's probably got a team of people that handles all the other stuff. Yeah. However, is there any imperfection? Is it 100% perfect? Was every story 100% perfect? Every episode 100? Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Nor will yours be. So just toss that one out the window.
Yeah.
As far as the logistics, I mean, hold on. I used to have this.
Hey, cool, you fixed it. Don't expect anything. The chances of getting a signal are slim at best.
Static's good, right?
No. Reception is good.
Wait, what's that?
It's Russo signal.
Oh, crap.
But this radio has a wider bandwidth.
That's what you call a party and a podcast.
Hold it! Stop, do you hear that?
Welcome to the weekly Lost edition of the Generally Speaking Production Network. Now, here are your hosts, Stephanie and Cliff.
Fade that out like that, and it would be super fancy and all that stuff. And then you got the Cliff Ravenscraft show.
Are you ready to take your message, your business, and your life to the next level?
Want to learn from someone with more than a decade of experience, training tens of thousands of people from all around the world?
Hi, Cliff. This is Pauline from Auckland, New Zealand.
John from Calgary, Alberta.
Amy Porterfield.
Michael Hyatt.
Dan here from Dunedin, New Zealand.
Ray Edwards.
Mark Mason.
Mike Stelzner.
Pat from Smart Passive Income.
It's Darren from Melbourne, Australia.
Now is the time to live the life of your dreams and do the work you feel most called to do in the world.
Welcome to the Cliff Ravenscraft Show.
Here's your host, Cliff Ravenscraft.
So I have over 55 podcast shows, over 4,800 podcast episodes. But if I were to tell you to go to the Cliff Ravenscraft Show and listen to any one of the most recent 4 or 5 episodes, click play and you will hear no music. I do a weekly podcast with my wife called Building a Life and Business Together. We publish it every single week. You click play, you will not hear a single tune of a musical intro. I have another podcast called What Are You Creating, where I interview people about their stories about what they're creating. Click play. No music anywhere. This whole idea that you need music for your podcast, it's not true. And by the way, it's never been easier for you to get music. Matter of fact, you can go over to Suno, suno.ai. I paid $96 for a 1-year subscription to Suno, and you can create full-blown songs. You could create it instrumental, or you could actually have like jingles. You can actually even have spoken word, all of this stuff. There are so many things you could do, or you could just hire somebody. And there are professionals out there that can create that for you. So first of all, let me just ask you this. On the music front, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 means I'm absolutely committed to having a professional music jingle / intro. On a scale of 1 to 10, how essential is that for you?
I think I would say there's just a part of my brain telling me I have to have music. See, and that's the struggle, is because this is why I'm so excited about this project, because this lets me create. Because what I do for a living all day, every day, is I teach math. Mm-hmm. And there's always one right answer, right? So I do that all day long. And so then when I shift out of teacher mode, sometimes I think it's hard for me to find multiple answers to a situation.
Okay, got you. So I'm locked in that if I have a podcast, it has to have music. But now Cliff's presenting you this idea that people could just hit play and not have to wait 20 seconds to hear the beginning of a conversation. What are your thoughts on that?
I love that.
I'm not saying that there isn't value in branding, but gosh, more and more these days, the most popular podcasts out there, they usually have about 4 to 5 minutes worth of advertisements in them. I'm the type of person who, when I don't subscribe to any of their podcasts, by the way, but occasionally those super really popular podcasts has a guest that is somebody that I would love to hear what they have to say about said topic. And I click play and I hit the fast forward 30-second buttons until I hear voices. I skip all of the music. My question is if it's essential for you, let's just say if you were an 8, 9, or 10, I really feel like I need to have a jingle, then you could invest as little as $150, $250, maybe $300 and get somewhere between an opening jingle to a whole branded package. However, let's just say, what are your thoughts about, episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, they click play and boom, instantly, they're right into the heart of the content. How does that make you feel?
It's actually a comforting thought, because I want to see it through the lens of a griever, because I envision my listener on the other side that might be just in their bed for the 3rd week in a row, that's got the covers pulled up over their heads and they're stuck and they don't know how they're going to get out of bed. And maybe they hear somebody on my podcast say, this is how I got out of bed. This is how I put one foot in front of the other when I was so stuck in my grief.
So check this out. I want you to imagine, do me a favor, just in front of your camera, hit press play. And we're going to pretend that you just pressed play on my podcast on grief. Ready? Have you ever sat in your bed day in, day out, knowing it's time to get up, but all you can think about is how long before you can get back under these covers and lose consciousness again? The weight of grief is so overwhelming that you just lay there. Maybe you've been in bed for days. If that's you, you're not alone. Today, we're going to be featuring a story of somebody who sat in their bed for 3 full days before they finally put their foot on the carpet again and began to move back towards life. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Grief Journeys. My name is Cliff Ravenscraft, your host, and today we're talking about how to get back into life when it seems like life is nowhere worthy of living. And our guest today is DeLyn, and she's going to share. But do you see how it's like? Can you imagine you hit play and boom, that's what you've got? And do you notice how I just started off with a little bit of a and of course, I thought that up off the top of my head. Imagine what you could do if it was actually thought out ahead of time. But then it's like you just ask a question. Is that you? Well, this is the podcast for you. You don't need to invest hours of your life trying to figure out how to do your jingles, and you don't have to go and invest $300 to have a branded package made for you and then figure out how to edit it all in. I'm not making any argument against either of those things. I'm just telling you that you don't need them. And you're looking at a guy who today, I could do this stuff on the fly. It's like, it's a button. They're already preloaded. But if you click my things, I just get straight. Hey, today we're talking about this.
Okay.
The funny, I want to share something with you. This is hilarious. My wife and I make a joke today about the Building a Life and Business Together podcast. We're on episode 37 of this newer podcast, and she never knows what to expect about how we're going to start the episode. And in her defense, for the first 36 episodes, it's something like, welcome back. We're here again. Cliff Ravenscraft, Stephanie Ravenscraft, Building a Life in Business. We used to call it the BLBT podcast because it's Building a Life in Business, but we would call it the Bacon Lettuce Bacon Tomato podcast. But we play around. We just have fun with it. And then this is how the most recent episode started. So can I read this email to you?
Sure.
It says, Jonna, would you be willing to share this message with so-and-so? My name is Cliff Ravenscraft. My father is Jack Lilly of Jack Lilly Insurance. He's spoken of so-and-so and your company with the highest regard for years, which is why I reached out in August of 2024 when we discovered a leak in our master bedroom ceiling. So-and-so visited our home on August 2nd and diagnosed the issue as a screw hole left by Orkin during a mesh installation over the ridge vent. He sealed it with silicone. He said that he felt that it was a fix that could last a lifetime and confirmed that there was no other roof damage. However, he did say, in quotes, if for some reason a real fix needs to be put into place, then I would send my repair tech to come up with a cost and plan. However, in October, just weeks later, the ceiling leaked again in the same spot. Another representative came out, shared photos of what appeared to be significant ridge vent damage, and stated that the entire ridge vent needed to be replaced. That work was completed for $2,860. Then, on April 3rd, 2025, the leak returned once again. Jeff came out on April 7th, identified a different issue, nails beneath the byline. He sealed it and said that it had been resolved. And now, June 18th, the ceiling is leaking yet again. Same exact spot. It's been nearly a full year. Each time we were told the issue is fixed. But under heavy rain and wind, the same leak recurs. We're starting to see a significant yellowing and deterioration in the drywall. My concern now is not only resolving the root issue once and for all, but also the growing interior damage. Given how long this has persisted and how many different diagnoses we've received, I respectfully request a direct conversation with so-and-so. My referral to such and such company came with the highest trust from my father, and I believe that we can still find a resolution that reflects that standard. Thank you for your time and help in getting this message to so-and-so. With appreciation, Cliff Ravenscraft, and then I put my phone number. What's so funny?
I'm just thinking. Welcome back to Life and Business Together.
Oh, yeah. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Building a Life and Business Together.
Life overshadows like it just...
Overshadow? No, it's not that life overshadows. No. It's just this is life.
This is life. This is life. So this is...
I'm Cliff Ravenscraft, by the way.
I'm Stephanie Ravenscraft.
That's how we started the podcast.
Okay.
Do you see how you don't... There was no music. And by the way, were you absolutely involved in the story?
Yeah. Yes. I'm very worried about your roof. Yes.
Exactly.
Your ceiling.
Exactly. And imagine imagine you click play and you listen to about 20 seconds of music, and then there's this fancy voice that tells you that we're super amazing people and this is what this podcast is about and what value you're going to get out of it. And now here are your hosts, Cliff and Stephanie. Hi, everybody. I want to read to you an email that I sent to this guy. I mean, by the way, and there's nothing wrong with it. I could probably pull off something good with the music. But do you see, you could actually use the fact that when most people hit play on your podcast, many of them have come to expect music and ads. What if you immediately get to the heat of what this thing's about?
That's amazing.
So having no music, no jingle could be an asset.
Yeah, because a grieving brain is often an overwhelmed brain anyway. It's an overwhelmed brain that struggles to focus as is, right? So maybe just getting right to it. This has been very eye-opening for me.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much is your fear of, as it relates to it's not going to be perfect? Before, it sounded to me like it was about an 8 or a 9, or maybe even a 7, or somewhere between a 7 and 9 out of 10. The fear of it not being perfect was going to hold you back.
Yeah.
Where are you now on a scale of 1 to 10? Fear of it not being perfect. Where's that rank for you right now?
I think it's maybe a 3 or 4. It's significantly decreased.
Excellent.
I'm feeling much less afraid.
Excellent.
To push the publish button.
That's awesome. So is the 3 or 4 still related to fear? Is it still the fear of it not being perfect, or do you feel like that fear is associated to something else other than it being perfect?
It might still be logistics.
All right. So the next thing is I
love this.
The editing. Go listen to the most recent episode. Let me tell you what they are. Episode 37, 36, 35, 34, 33, 32. Actually, any episode, but any of the most recent episodes of Building a Life and Business Together.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And then there's a show called The Cliff Ravenscraft Show. And I'm looking here. Episode 771, episode 770. Let's just say those most recent 2 episodes. They're specifically episodes I'm giving you for a reason. And the reason is this. There isn't a single edit in either of those episodes.
Really?
We hit the record button and start talking. And when we're finished, we hit the record button that causes it to stop the recording. And then we take that, convert it to an MP3, and publish it to the world.
Okay, and you have to tell me why.
Because I hate editing.
Okay.
It's not because I'm not good at it. I can edit a podcast.
That's what I'm saying. Like that, my brain is exploding. You're telling me this, really, because you have been doing this for how many years?
Yeah. And so, and you can, and here's the thing. The big thing is, how can I do it? Is I'm not necessarily trying to impress you and make you think that I'm perfect.
Oh, that's powerful. That is powerful right there. Whew.
I don't care.
I think you need to say that again.
Yeah, I'm not trying to impress you with my content. This content isn't to make you think that I am this most incredible, highly capable audio editing, content producing machine. That's not who I'm. There was a time when those things, I wanted to impress people and all this. And by golly, I had jingles. I shared with you some of the incredible jingles that I've had.
Yeah.
And back in the early days, I was all about trying to make me look good in the eyes of others. And I did things that were there to impress people. Today, I've grown beyond that. It's service. And sometimes service is leaving in the mistakes.
I'm writing that down. That's so good. Yeah.
Sometimes service is leaving the mistakes. The number of times people have said, Cliff, you want to know one of the things I really love is the number of times where you leave some of your mistakes in. And it's in those moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody else that doesn't have it all figured out. And somebody who's, I can't begin to tell you how much that means to me that you would be willing to do that, because it takes my own perfectionistic tendencies. It takes that off the fire. I feel like, wow, if Cliff can do that, maybe I can as well. Now, I do want to give you one other very valuable tip. This comes from somebody who has been recording podcasts a lot for many years.
Yes.
Let's just say I'm interviewing you and you just said something, and halfway through somebody knocked on the door and they said, hey, they told you about a package that was just left at the door, and you say, oh, thank you, I'll get it when I'm done here. And then they closed the door behind you and you were mid-sentence when they knocked. And now all of a sudden we need to start the dialogue over. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you before, and you're going to start over again. You have two options. One, leave it in. It's life. It happens. That is a possibility for you. There is no requirement that you edit that out. Now, chances are, likely given the fact that you'll probably want to edit it out. So there are a couple of things that you can do. The first one I could say is, DeLyn, I just want to let you know we're going to start over. It's not a big deal. I'll edit that out, and I'm going to ask you the question again. And you have two options. One, I'm going to clap 3 times. All right? The reason why is because the audio recording, after I'm finished, I'm going to bring it into what's called a visual editor, and I'm going to see these waveforms. And I'm going to see those 3 peaked lines, and that's going to tell me that's where this took place. And I will go back and find that and just edit out that part. The other one is, DeLyn, I'll tell you what, we're going to start over. This is going to seem like it's going to take a very long time, but I'm going to count to 5 very slowly, and then I'm going to ask you the question again. And the reason why is because I'm going to look in my software later, and I'm going to see a complete flat line for 5 seconds. So here we go. So DeLyn, what was it like when you experienced that? And then you move on. And now I either have the peaked lines that I'm looking for that are 3 all together, or I'm looking for that long place of silence so I can dive straight into that one section. And I would do that anytime I feel like there needs to be an edit.
Okay.
The other thing is that in your earliest days of your podcast, you're going to be more nervous. You're going to have more ums and all this other stuff. I'd encourage you just to leave it all in. If you're there to be of service, just be of service. Do the best you can with what you have. And just know this, you are going to get better. And if there's any one thing that I could tell you, you have one of 2 options on this side as well. I encourage you, as cringeworthy as it is, listen to every episode you produce in real time. Okay. If you do go in and teach yourself how to edit, and you need to edit out some of those some of those, it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much work to edit out all of that crazy stuff that I said all over and over and over again. And it'll be so much work that eventually you'll stop doing it in real time. I don't know how many times I say these days, but it's not a lot.
Okay.
And it's because I've learned to be okay with the silence. And I could always edit out a silence. And usually if I'm silent long enough, the other person just starts talking more, and it brings even greater content. They usually go deeper. So those logistics on, I don't know how to edit, Do you see how that can number one, you don't have to edit. And if you did have to edit, it's only big mistakes. And I've given you some logistics on how to find those real quickly so you don't have to listen to the whole thing again in real time before you publish. What are your thoughts on all of that?
I feel like you've helped me knock down some walls today, and I'm very grateful.
Sweet.
I think I needed to hear from somebody I respect tell me, hey, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yep.
You don't have to follow the 15 set of rules that you have in your brain that are telling you have to do it this way, this way, this way.
Yeah. And I have never used this service before, but I know enough people that have. Buzzsprout.com. Just go to Buzzsprout. There are tons of podcast hosting services out there. Buzzsprout will do it for you. All you have to do is click to sign up, and it will ask you a bunch of questions about your podcast. You will need a podcast artwork image. And that's something, believe it or not, today it used to be a couple $100s to get a really good podcast artwork, but with some luck, ChatGPT or Canva can help you get one of those knocked out in 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Logistics, do you have any other questions that seem to be in your way?
I don't think so. Those were the big ones. We hit the big ones.
Sweet.
We knocked down the walls.
I love this. I can't wait. Will you send me a link to your podcast as soon as it goes live?
Yes, and can I interview you for it someday?
Absolutely.
Once I get rolling?
I'd be delighted to. I'm more than happy to tell you about my story with my dad, as long as you're not opposed to some woo-woo stuff, because
I'm into woo-woo, so it's all good.
Well, I'm really
That's my language.
I'm deep into the woo. So yes, I'm more than happy to tell you about my experience, my 3 days with my dad.
Because I absolutely, the dream you shared, I was like, yep, absolutely that happened. Absolutely you had a conversation with him, 100%. Yes.
Yep, absolutely. Yes. So I love that. And then the one last thing I will say, DeLyn, is if your goal is to publish and tell people about this so they can go and listen to it on August 30th, let me just tell you that 1 week before that, go ahead and start submitting them to the podcast directories. You don't have to tell anybody they're there, but just go ahead and submit them about a week before so that you can make sure that they make it into the search engines, which can it used to take up to 2 weeks, but it takes about a week, 3 to 7 days on average.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so grateful for this.
It is my pleasure. Thank you. I'm going to host lots of these Ask Me Anythings, and you're welcome anytime.
Great.
I'm thrilled I got to actually see you face to face now. So this is awesome. All right. Many blessings. I see that Mark Weiss is here. Mark, did you want to come up? Just give me a thumbs up if you want to come up. And he's got a thumbs up, so we're bringing Mark up here. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great. A lot of what you helped the previous person with, I thought about. And when I help other people, I get stuff done really fast. I do computers. I get people to recommend me.
And we've got you frozen there.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. You froze for just a moment, and now you're back.
Okay. Am I good now?
You're good now.
So I'll delay my own stuff, even on small things. My son gave me this beautiful little multi-tool on Father's Day. I still haven't taken it out of its box. And I'm not even sure why I'm not taking it out of the box and putting it in my pocket, because he had one and I've always thought it's such a great tool. But yet with the previous person, if she was talking to me, I would have said, right now, forget the music. Most people, a lot of them, at least I do, whatever time you spend with that music, I'll tell my podcast player to forward it past that. Leave, just like you said, leave the guffaws in because it makes you more relatable, because we're all human. But when it comes to doing it myself, I just stall and I procrastinate. And I think it just comes from not wanting to be, the word isn't wrong. I just don't figure out how I say this. But yeah, maybe it's just not wanting to be wrong, not wanting to be called out on it. Okay. It's why I wait to invoice. Because, I remember my mom was helping me because she was an accountant by trade. And so she would say, well, you got to make more money. So then I started to make more money. She's like, oh my God, now we're going to have to pay taxes. And I guess I just don't want to hear the negativity. So I stall to avoid the negativity is maybe the best thing I can say. And yet when I'm helping other people, I go to my friend's house and we're putting, heating coils up for, to avoid ice dams. And we're climbing up the ladders. And I mean, you can see from my face, I'm not the skinniest guy. And we're 7,500 feet up in Flagstaff. But still, I'm huffing it like crazy. And we're getting stuff done and we're going at it. And, I go over to my brother's house and he's got a basement full of e-waste and we get rid of that or, whatever it is. But when it comes to me, I'm always I'll just wait till tomorrow. And other than trying to avoid being called out of not doing it right or grief, I know I'm capable and I'm perfectly willing to help other people. But how do I get myself going for myself?
Well, you obviously haven't experienced enough pain from not sending the invoice or the other things to overcome these things, or have you?
I think part of it's been, I've been really lucky in life. Like I was almost going to quit college literally on the last class. And right at the last minute, the guy told me, oh, you can take a test. And it turns out the only homework that I did for that class was the test.
Okay. So
that's just one example, being incredibly lucky. But, as you get older, it's the stakes are higher. And I don't want to run into that.
The thing I heard you so far say that you are not doing is sending an invoice. Is this something that happens quite frequently?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you ask most of my customers and they'll say, what's the one thing about Mark? And they'll say, he doesn't send the damn invoices.
Okay. All right. So you have a business that people are agreeing to pay you for whatever it is that they're waiting for the invoice for?
Oh, yeah. No, they don't complain about it when they get it.
Right. But you have a business. People have agreed to hire you. They've agreed on the price for which you're going to charge. And they're sitting there waiting for an invoice and you're not sending it. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
All right. And what I also heard you say, and tell me if this is accurate, I'm not sending the invoice because I'm actually afraid of hearing that I've done it wrong.
I guess it's once I send the invoice, I thought about this, and once I send the invoice, then I've kind of said, okay, I'm done. You can judge me now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so there's this judgment. Have you ever read the book called The 4 Agreements?
No.
If there's one book that I would want you to read to help you specifically with this issue, it's the book The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. This book, if you listen to it in audio form, it's a ridiculously short book. The only problem I have with this book is it's so small and such a quick read that so many people just blaze through it so fast, and they underestimate the value of this book because it's so simple and straight and to the point. But I want you to know the first agreement of the 4 agreements is labeled "Don't take anything personally." And here's what I would encourage you to do. Read the entire book from beginning to end. And then what I would encourage you to do is just only read the chapter. Don't take anything personally. Read it once a week, every week for 6 weeks. Just the one chapter. Don't take anything personally. Now, if you choose to read the other chapters, which is, by the way, don't make any assumptions, although I can tell you right now, you're dealing with a lot of assumptions. You're making the assumption that people are going to judge you, so there's going to be a lot that resonates with you there as well. But the other one is be impeccable with your word, and then beyond that, it's going to be always do the best that you can. All 4 of these are going to be essential for you. They will be life-changing if you allow yourself to not just read it and agree with it, but actually work to integrate these truths into your life. If you could literally agree to live your life based upon these things, that'll be so obvious when you read them. So I'm going to modify my recommendation. I would encourage you to go read the entire book, The 4 Agreements, one time all the way through. And then read the chapter, don't take anything personally, and also don't make any assumptions. Read both of those chapters once a week, every week for 6 weeks. You will automatically see your life shifting, and you will start sending more invoices.
Okay. No, that's... And does it say in the book how to do that? Because I kind of know I shouldn't take everything so personally, but I come from a whole long line of take it personally people. It's kind of what was modeled. Does it have that kind of help in the book?
It absolutely does. The opening of the book starts off with a story, and it's kind of this spiritual woo story about creation and how the world came about. And there's this one section that I find it's my favorite part of the book. It's called The Dream of the Planet. And what you're speaking of is that you actually came into this world with the dream of the planet, and then there's the dream of the country that you're in. There's the dream of the state. There's the dream of the city. Then there's the dream of the community, and there's the dream of the family, and there's the dream of the people that you do life with the most. And so basically what you've done through all of these dreams, if you're actually walking through life with nothing more than a bunch of agreements about what things mean. And when you become consciously aware of the fact that these are not you, these beliefs are not you, these thoughts are not you, these fears are not you, they're simply stored memories of things that other people have said and told you is true, and you've agreed with it. And once you understand that, they're no longer yours. I'm not saying you won't still hear their voices in your head, but you might just at one level, at some point in your journey, you will no longer say, oh my gosh, I am so afraid. Instead, at some point, you will come to a place where you're going to say, wow, I'm recognizing that it's time for me to send this invoice, and I am aware of these voices in my head that are telling me these bad things could happen. And gosh, if I actually start pulling the strings, I can actually pull the thread and see where that actually came from. That reminds me of when my uncle said this, or my mom said this, or when my Sunday school teacher said this. And you will start pulling those threads, and you're going to realize, holy crap, I've been living my whole life based upon other people's agreements. And when you start to recognize, number one, that everyone else has been doing that as well, you realize people aren't actually doing things against you. They're actually just living out their program. Their operating system of all these stored beliefs are running reaction programs. If this, then that statements. And that's what you're dealing with. And chances are you might send an email and with an invoice, and they will judge you. So what's going to happen now? In your mind, that fear of judgment might be, well, gosh, they're going to say bad things not only to me, they're going to speak to other people, they're going to maybe take me to court, I'm going to lose my business, or they're going to say things and ruin my reputation, nobody's going to hire me anymore. I mean, just this thing can spin and spin and spin and spin and spin. The reality is...
just you saying it makes me nervous.
Yeah. Exactly. And by the way, I'm only tuned into exactly what's actually already going. I didn't say anything that's not already in your head. The thing is that almost none of that is ever really going to happen. But even if your worst fears became true, it still will actually ultimately lead to something even more powerful and more beneficial to you, because at some point you'll understand that life is actually for you and not against you. But it begins with the understanding of, why am I thinking and believing and feeling the way that I am? And I think that the Four Agreements is the easiest book to introduce you to the concept of the dream of the planet, of how the world that you and I live in are two different worlds. And in fact, there is no one reality. If there are 7 billion people on the planet, there are 7 billion different realities. And so you're looking at a guy who used to have what's called a prohibitive conscience. And that was where not only did I fear that I have done something wrong, I was always consistently afraid of potentially doing something wrong. Or even if I didn't do something wrong, I was afraid that somebody would perceive what I did that I know for a fact wasn't wrong, but it might be perceived by others was wrong. And here's the thing. I have no way of controlling the perception of anyone else. And that's why when I read this book, of course, there were other books that led me to some of these insights before I read the Four Agreements, but man, did the Four Agreements say what took me multiple books and multiple years, it said in one small book what it took a lot of other things for me to read and experience. But this one book will say it so succinctly. And if, like I said, if you won't just, as long as you avoid discounting the depth that this book can create transformation in your life because of how simple and straightforward and short it is, it will change everything. You will find yourself disconnecting from the fear of how you will be perceived by others. And the greatest thing I can tell you, what's on the other side of this, is you'll stop judging other people.
Oh, that'll be nice too.
Yeah. Not only will you be released from the fear of judgment from others, you'll actually stop judging others. And most importantly, you'll stop judging yourself. There's an entire section of this book that talks about, he might call it the judge, but it talks about this concept that humans are the only people who pay the penalty for an infraction over and over and over and over again, because we consistently judge ourselves for things that we've done wrong. It's in the book, and when you get there, it's like, oh, this is the part that Cliff was talking about.
I'm going to go after it right after we hang up.
Sweet. So, Mark, I'm going to be doing lots more of these Ask Me Anythings and stuff like that. How did you discover this? Were you just browsing on a social chat platform, or did you get an email from me?
I got an email from you. I've emailed you a few times about things when you ask, hey, can you at least send me feedback on my show? Because I've been listening to you for years. I listened to you and I was, I've liked how you've been able to change your mind on things. Some of the things where you said, I don't feel like I need to. I remember when you said, I don't feel like I need to do a podcast every week. And just recently, last month or two, I have a really bad sense of time. Then you said, I realized maybe I should be doing more podcasts more often. And I remember years ago, this was probably 2020 because of where I was driving when I heard the podcast in LA about your troll.
Oh, yeah.
And how frustrated you were with your troll.
Yep.
And I was actually driving around doing a bunch of stopping by different Huell Hauser jaunts in California. If you've ever seen Huell Hauser's California Gold.
I have not.
And if you ever get a chance, it's really interesting. It's called Huell Hauser's California Gold. And he goes through San Simeon. He goes through all kinds of places. And one of them was just a hotel on Foothill Boulevard, an ice cream place, all kinds of things. And I happened to be driving in that area. So I made a jaunt. And I remember transitioning freeways when you were so upset about the troll just giving you grief.
Yeah. I can tell you
right. I think 2020.
Yeah. So in 2020, I will tell you that's before I had what I call a spiritual awakening, which happened during the pandemic. What I've experienced since 2020, since the pandemic, I'm a completely different being altogether. I have absolutely no judgment against him. Matter of fact, I see him as one of my greatest allies. I see how many things he helped me see inside of myself. And I recognize today that he was nothing more than a mirror, because nothing he said could ever touch me emotionally unless at some level inside I had that fear of what he was saying as truth in myself. And so he can't push a button unless the button actually exists. And so in many ways, I look back today and I see that troll as a great ally who's able to help me understand some more subconscious programming that's still there, that still has some landmines that haven't been deactivated and cleared. And so I wait for the next troll to show up and to say something and see if it phases me. And if all of a sudden somebody else phases me, I know it's not personal. That has to do with their own programming, their own issues, their own projections. In most cases, it's just simply going to roll off of me like water on a duck's back. However, in the event that somebody does say something and it gets under my skin and it causes me to crawl and have some emotions, it has, again, still nothing to do with them. It's just like what a gift it is to know that there's still something internally that I have what some sort of shadow work that I still need to do with some of my beliefs and my upbringing and some traumas that I've had. And that's something that is a gift for me to know that it's there, so that I can go in and do the work to deactivate it, so that I don't create some sort of landmine explosion the next time somebody goes and steps on that trigger.
Yeah, I feel lighter in my chest. Sorry, I'm going to step out of the wind. I actually, just talking to you like this, it's like when you started talking about, being judged, and it's like I could feel it all around here, just right in the lungs area. And as you're talking about that, it starts to lift, because that's what it hits. It just hits. I got to read it and do the work, because I remember everything was fine till the first day of kindergarten. And boy, that went downhill before we even got in class. And I hated it so much, I got out of high school in 3 years.
Yeah. Mark, I want to share something with you that I've learned overall, and this is my current belief, is that when I started what I call my more spiritual journey, like in 2020, I felt like, oh my gosh, there's this. Am I going to have enough years on this earth to read, study, and learn all the things I need to learn about the spiritual way of living this spiritual path in life? And you want to know what I've actually discovered? The more I read, the more I have to unlearn. And so it's not actually reading and learning because all of them, every book that's ever been written, are all filled with these things called words. And all of those words, all the meanings behind those words are it's all made up. And so I love the illustration. It's when you read The Dream of the Planet, because of what you just said, my problems all started when I started kindergarten. Yes, that is exactly right when it started, because that's when that's when your brain was being infiltrated with all of these agreements that you were forced to make. And the people who gave you those, most of those, they did it because they felt that it was within your best interest, because from their perspective, they're like, here's how we've learned to go through life with the least amount of pain and suffering. And here is, as long as you can be this person that is agreeable and that's likable and all this other stuff, then all of a sudden you'll be safe. And so much of our culture is teaching us how to be safe. But if you actually find out who you are, who you knew you were before all of that was put in there, you'll recognize you never needed to be safe. That actually there's no version of you that actually could genuinely be harmed. And that gets into a much deeper layer. But here's what I will know. Here's what I do know. There's enough. The fact that you're already saying I feel the lightness in my chest as a result of this, read this book. Do it exactly as I shared. Read it one time all the way through. Don't take anything personally, and don't make any assumptions. Read those 2 chapters once a week for the next 6 weeks. At any point during any of this process, you want to come back on here and ask me more questions related to what you've read, I'm ready to go to whatever depths you desire.
Okay. Yeah. This I didn't even think about it. I've always built it based on just more of my mom, but I realized talking to you that, and when you said that, it's like, yeah, it started really going to taking this all in. Just the only person I could play with was a girl down the street, and she was fine, and I was fine. And then when they saw me talking to the girl, it was like I had 4 eyes, orthopedic shoes, and I talked to a girl. And that the boys excluded me starting from there, and it just never stopped.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, that wasn't about me.
It wasn't about you at all. It wasn't about you. It was about their own programming. It was about their own fears. It was their own fears of being associated with somebody who had orthopedic shoes. And if they actually showed that they liked you, that then all of a sudden maybe they would be made fun of. And nobody in that entire group had enough courage to like you for who you are. They were all so fearful of how they were perceived by everyone that they chose to ignore you or make fun of you so that they would not be the odd person out. It was all about their fear, not your shoes.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's I'm starting to get a little tear in the right eye.
That's awesome.
Just from
That's awesome.
So
that's the energy of fear being released from your body. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah. No, it's
yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, it is an honor. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for bringing this up. As far as I'm concerned, this is the highlight of my day right here, this conversation. I've enjoyed all the conversations I've had today, but quite frankly, I live for this level of conversation.
Yeah, I've been thinking about talking to you, but it just, you just don't do it. But I'm glad just something hit me and said I should do this. I should just get on and talk to you.
I'm glad you did. Well, there you go. That is my first experience of the new version that I wanted to share with you of my How May I Serve You Today? Ask Me Anything, live streams / open Zoom calls. And I'm going to be doing many of these into the future. If you would like to participate in one of these sessions, the best way to get notified is make sure that you're on my mailing list. And if you're not, just go over to cliffravenscraft.com. There's a place for you to put your name and email address in an opt-in form so you can get onto my mailing list. And I send out emails to let people know that I'm going live. Or if you ever happen to see me just streaming as you're opening up one of your social apps and I'm there live, there should be information for you to actually go over to a link where you can join the live Zoom call and come up and directly ask me a question. And I will then ask you, how may I serve you today? I can't wait to see you on one of these future sessions. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, may you be blessed, filled with peace, love, joy, and abundance that can only come from within.